Hello and welcome to the Auto Trader pregame show. Players only as we take a look at Russell Westbrook making his entrance as he gets ready to host one of the very best, Dame Lillard and the Trailblazers starting to play some good basketball. We should have a good one here. Greg Anthony sitting in from a man C. Webb, who was working hard last night, along with the Hall of Famers, Isaiah Thomas and Kevin McHale. So we're going to have a lot of fun. But let's get it out on location first to Dennis Scott and get caught up to what's going on in Oklahoma City as we get ready for this battle. DZ?
Well, guys, first of all, it's a little chilly here in OKC. I don't know what the weather is back in Atlanta.
It's cold here, too.
It's cold there, too?
Cold, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. So, that being said, hopefully the cold weather stays outside the arena because OKC Thunder is playing better defense. That slipped a little bit. Paul George playing at an MVP level. And you talked about Dame Lillard and C.J. McCollum. Now we have to talk about Nurkic. He's playing better basketball. He's just talking to some of the guys as they're warming up. Nurkic is tired of people saying who's the third guy for Portland. So it should be a good ball game tonight.
It really should. And, you know, you look at this Thunder team, all the talk coming in was how great they'd been defensively, but that's not been the case here of late for this group, DZ. What's the thought process with how they're playing on that side of the ball?
Well, they understand that teams have come into their building and shot the ball with confidence. The first team that comes to mind the other night when the Los Angeles Lakers came in here and played lights-out basketball with Kyle Kuzma shooting the three and getting anywhere on the floor like he wanted to. So they realize teams are going to come in and give them their best shot. They need to regroup. Guys off the bench understand when they come in, they got to lock down and play good team defense. But no panic. I say it again, no panic because a guy named Paul George is playing really, really good.
You know, 3D, they going up against a great backcourt tonight when you talk about Lillard and McCollum. What strategy do you think they will implement tonight defensively to try to slow those two guys down?
Well, try to keep them off the three-point line, and when they split the double team, Isaiah, you know this, you're one of the best to ever do it. When they split that double team, make sure those big guys step up in the lane like Kevin McHale used to do, and not so much block the shot, but deter the shot and try to get some of those shooting percentages to come down because we know you're not going to stop them all night long. We want them to work for every shot they get tonight.
You know, Dennis, what I want you to do is go tell Adams that Nurkic wants to have a big game tonight because I want to see what Adams does to him. I look at OKC, and I think Adams just really, when he's playing well, he's defensive rebounding, he's offensive rebounding, but he's really clogging the paint and just helping recover. Talk to me a little bit about Adams and Adams' ability to really help that OKC defense.
Well, I think Paul George has done an excellent job, guys, believe it or not, throwing the ball down low to your point, K-Mac, to Steven Adams. Just let him touch it. He doesn't always try to shoot the basketball because he's a great passer out of the mid-post. So sometimes let the big guy eat a little bit. He sets better screens. He defends more for you, and now you can get out and run and get easy baskets.
So 3D, is it raining out there? Is it snowing? Because we just saw a shot of Adams walking in.
Yeah. He looked like the abominable.
It was raining.
Yes, was that guy?
It was raining earlier. It stopped raining, but man, I cannot lie. I didn't bring my big coat. I brought my southern coat. I'm chilly.
Man, you can get up under his coat.
Hold on. That's the kind of guy when you're walking down the street, you see him coming, you go to the other side of the street.
You go take off running. You go.
Who is that guy?
All right, DT, we're going to check back in with you a little bit later. Let's talk a little bit more, guys, about this Thunder team because you know, when the season started, they probably had as many question marks as anybody after how the season ended a season ago. But defensively, they were a juggernaut for quite a while. But then now it seems like they've hit a stretch where defense has not been their calling card. Do you see them returning to that? And also, do you guys see them as a legit contender in that Western Conference?
You know, I was one of the guys early in preseason. I wasn't sure if OKC in thinking that the West would be as tough as it is. With Russell missing games, with Westbrook missing games early in the season, I didn't know if they would fall so far behind that they wouldn't be able to make up the games. However, you know, you got to give Billy Donovan a lot of credit because he and Paul George and that group, they did a great job of holding down the fort. And when Russ came back, they just took off. So, you know, I like where they are defensively, and I think there's so much room to grow and improve for the OKC Thunder.
Yeah, I tell you what, when they're playing good defense, they're switching to deny the passes. When they're not playing good defense, they're laying back off it. And, we get a switch down here. You know how hard it is when guys can fly on switches. You're uptight, you're denying, you're getting a hand in. They get deflections, they get steals when they're doing that. What I've seen lately a little bit is they've been a little bit more passive on the defensive end, allowing those passes to flow freely on the perimeter. I just think when they're up pressuring, they're a much better team. So we'll see tonight if they get back to pressure, how many deflections, how many steals. And the reason that I'm believing in this team, you asked, where can they go in the playoffs? When you can score off your defense, that gives you such a big bounce, especially in the playoffs when scoring becomes at a premium. When you can get 4 or 5 of those deflections for runouts and get yourself 12, 14, 15 points off those deflections and steals, that's huge. And so I'm believing in this team. Favorite thing about the OKC lately is that Russell Westbrook is not pressing his offense. He's not having those 6 for 30 games. He was 6 for 12 last night.
Yeah.
Damn near had a triple-double, had 10 rebounds, 9 assists. And when you can control the game by taking 12 shots, you are a basketball player. You're not a numbers collector.
And that used to always be the judge of if your point guard is really controlling the game by, how many shot attempts he has to take or doesn't take. And the average was about, if you took 12 to 15 shots a night and you can control the game that way and you have your imprint on the assist box, you're sharing the basketball, that's when you knew you were doing, a great job. And then guys like Magic would come along and they control the game with 4 shots. Yeah. and you would be like, hey, we're not even talking about you tonight, Magic. You're in a totally different category. But that's what Westbrook is doing. And not only that, he's also accepted the challenge of becoming a better defender. This is the first time I've ever heard him really talk about becoming an elite defender as opposed to being an elite offensive player. And when you have he and Paul George as 2 elite defenders on your team, you got a chance to beat anybody.
And, wrapping up on Westbrook, he's not getting those 3 or 4 extra layups he got a game because, your shooting percentage looks a hell of a lot better when you're beating everybody and you're getting 4 or 5, 6 layups at the rim. He's not getting those right now. I don't know if he's just doesn't quite have the explosiveness he had or whatever. He's such a freakish athlete, but he's just not getting those shots. And so those always make your shooting percentage look a hell of a lot better.
And do you guys think, though, big picture, this is a team that doesn't shoot the 3 well, although they were terrific in their last game, shot 52% from beyond, made 15. But along with Westbrook and this group, do they shoot it well enough, though, to where they can really put some fear in some of those elite teams in that Western Conference once we get to the postseason?
If the right people are shooting, if Abrinas can come back and get healthy, he's a good shooter for him. Paul George makes his share of threes, shoots a decent percentage from the 3-point line. I'd like to see them add another shooter. But again, to me, the 3, it's all relative to who's shooting it. If you have 20% shooters shooting a lot of threes, you're going to be a lousy 3-point shooting team. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot of math to figure that out. And sometimes they have the wrong people shooting the threes. If they have the right people shooting the threes, put them in the right position, you got some drive, you got some kick going out, I'd like to see them add another shooter. I really would. I think it just fills out their roster. But again, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. San Antonio has the right people shooting threes. And they don't shoot a bunch of them, but they make a bunch of them. They make a high percentage of what they shoot. I think OKC's got to have a little bit of some of that. That being said, I'd like to see them trade for a shooter if they could.
I agree with Kevin. I do think that at some point in time during this period, they have to seek out a 3-point shooter to add to the roster. But that shooter's got to be able to defend also.
Yes.
He just can't be a guy that's a specialist that knocks down shots. He's got to be able to defend on both ends so they can play him and keep him in the game. And I also think that shot selection is extremely important. And what I'm seeing with OKC right now is their shot selection has become much better. And if they continue to have good shot selection, then they'll be okay.
Okay, and speaking of selection, I'm going to select this moment to give a shout out to my kids. My daughter Naomi and my son Tyson are watching. They're big fans. And also interact with all of us here socially at NBA TV.
Not
myself,
me.
at Greg Anthony 50, at Isaiah Thomas, and at Kevin McHale. Just try it. You never know. Somebody probably has that account right now.
The problem is it's that actor, and they keep on mistaking me for some 4'11" actor. And I'm like, that is not me. I promise you. I'm 6'11".
honest.
All right.
You get mistaken for the actor. I get mistaken for the younger Isaiah
That's right.
in the league.
I always say the real Isaiah Thomas when I talk about you.
That's
I just
the
call
real.
myself the
That's the
older.
real Dame Lillard right there. And
Yeah,
he
it's
might
only
have
one.
a little something to say about how this game goes tonight. Dame Lillard and the Blazers.
Wearing slippers.
They are lurking.
Only one. Those are.
The pursuit of Carmelo Anthony has finally paid off, as Houston has traded for the future Hall of Famer. But he won't really be a Bull. The team is expected to waive Melo before he plays a game, give him a chance to join a contender. So we asked the fans, which team will Melo most likely end up on? Lakers, Blazers, Heat, or somebody else? 59% of people think he's somehow going to end up on the Lakers with LeBron. I tend to agree. What do you think?
There's mutual interest apparently, but I dispute that somewhat, because if there was mutual interest, the Lakers would have made the space available and probably would have taken him by now.
They don't want to waive anyone on the Lakers roster, according to reports.
So I wonder if in some ways Magic Johnson doesn't want it to look like LeBron is pulling the strings and saying, here, my friend needs a hand, let's throw him a lifeline.
Yep.
And the Lakers are weighing up whether or not Melo can come in there and disrupt things because he wasn't able to fit into the role that the Rockets wanted him to do. And Chris Paul's his good friend and he wasn't able to do it there. So I understand everyone does think he will probably end up at the Lakers, and that's, you know, mathematically, I suppose, the most likely place. But I'm not sure that the Lakers really want to go down that road right now.
If there were a lot of suitors, he would have been somewhere already. He's been sitting out for 2 months. And I think the Lakers is probably the only viable option, unless, again, we've got these teams that are amongst the reported rumored teams. The Blazers or the Heat take on a chance. I just don't see it happening. If there were a lot of suitors, somebody would be doing it right now. The Heat, why would you take him on and to have another older scorer coming off the bench? You already got Dwayne Wade in that role.
Well, maybe, I mean, we keep talking about LeBron may want to help out his buddy Melo. Well, what about Dwayne Wade helping him out? And they have a roster spot open, so they wouldn't have to waive someone or cut someone like the Lakers, in theory, would have to, unless they do some sort of 2-for-1 trade. I mean, the Heat, like back in Summer League, was one of the teams talking to Melo and his reps after the Thunder buyout. So there's some history there. They at least kicked the tires around on that. I don't think it's that far-fetched. You're right. Now, is there minutes there? Can Melo give you anything? Maybe Melo can still win you a quarter, a half, or whatever in a playoff series, and the Heat will likely be in there in the East. So I would actually pick the Heat from this list, because I don't see the Lakers happening, because what you guys are saying makes sense. It would have already happened in theory, but they like what they're getting from their guys that are on their one-year deals, be it your McGee's and your Lances and your Beasleys and Rondo and so on.
But if they open a roster spot for whatever reason, if they make a 2-for-1 trade.
If they make a 2-for-1 trade, then fair.
I think that would be the only option, really, at this point. If you're the Heat or the Blazers, wouldn't you have already made it happen?
Yeah, you would think so. All right, final one, Trey.
We're smack dab in the middle of All-Star season, as starters will be announced on TNT this Thursday. As such, we're nearing the start of snub season, as there are only a few Eastern Conference backcourters who are locks. So we threw 4 of the best guards in a poll and asked the fans who's most likely to be an East All-Star snub. Eric Bledsoe, Kyle Lowry, Victor Oladipo, or D'Angelo Russell. 49% of people think Russell won't be getting the call.
Ooh, yeah, this is...
I disagree with them.
You disagree?
I disagree. I think D'Angelo Russell is in, because it's when you do it which really stands out. In the month of January, the Nets are 8-2. He's getting up 24.7 assists on 45% from 3. But he's also clearly been their best player and has propelled them into the playoffs. And I think that's going to sit well with a lot of coaches, because this guy was a misfit, sort of cast away from the Lakers. People kind of gave up on him. Spencer didn't when he got the big contract. And he's responded really, really well by carrying his team. And I think he gets in. I don't think he's going to be snubbed.
Look, he would get my vote right now, and we will make our reserve picks once we know the starters this Thursday on TNT and all that. But my worry with coaches when they make these all-star selections, they keep it pretty simple. They usually think of 2 things. 1, was this guy already a former all-star? Yeah? Okay, well, that's good. And 2, is his team good? You know, he contributes to a good team? Okay, that's good enough for me. And what I'm getting at here is, like, guys like Lowry and Oladipo, Lowry especially, 4 All-Stars, Oladipo makes the last year. They're both on better teams than the Nets. That I could just see the coaches going, yeah, those guys are locks. Put them in, put them in, put them in. And then I get into your Bledsoe and your Russell, where it's going to be much more difficult, I think. The way the coaches go about this, or their assistant coaches that fill out the ballot go about this, that I could see it being Russell, despite, you know, the numbers that he's putting up and the success recently that the Nets are showing. He would be in there for me, but I think he might get snubbed, unfortunately.
Yeah, sure. And to compound on that, a lot of the coaches go old school and they say, well, the Raptors are at the top of the standings.
Yeah.
We need 2 of those guys. I wonder with the Bucks situation, do the votes sort of split between Eric Bledsoe and Chris Middleton behind Giannis Antetokounmpo? I wonder if, which one gets in. D'Angelo Russell, a lot of those coaches haven't even seen D'Angelo Russell, though, when he's been smoking.
Him now, though.
Maybe. Because I think you're overvaluing the currency, how much these guys pay attention to this month. Coaches obviously have seen the Nets make their run, but I do think that they do go a little bit old school. Oh, this guy has been an all-star before and standing.
That's the Joe Johnson sort of rule that he kind of got in because it's we know he's been a good player for a long time. But if you look at what Russell has done for the Nets, he's had those streaks where he's hit 7 threes, 8 threes, carried them, and it's turning into victories. It's not like he's just putting up numbers on a team that's like 8 games below 500 or anything. He's actually really taking that team. And Kyle Lowry started off incredibly well, but he's really sort of struggled with his shot, and even the assists have dropped as well. So he might be the one just on the outside looking in.
It'll be interesting to see. Let's hear from you guys. Jump on Twitter, #the starters with your reasoning. When we come back, 3D joins us live from OKC. Set up that juicy Blazers Thunder game. Don't go anywhere.